You are saying $1 million Bitcoin. What's the logic behind that?
Bitcoin, the asset, is being heavily accumulated.
Not only $1 million Bitcoin, which we all know is going to come eventually, but $1 million Bitcoin in a very, very short amount of time.
The global Bitcoin ETF tracker, meaning the institutions buying Bitcoin now, the 39 different global funds, now own over 1,050,000 Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin price is going to $1 million per coin.
Right. So I think the key message I'm trying to get across is that the macro environment has fundamentally changed.
So let's just take stock of where we are right now with Bitcoin. And then I do want to share with you this clip in full of crypto expert Samson Mow on the Simply Bitcoin podcast doing the math, literally explaining how and when Bitcoin hits $1 million. But right now, today, the daily US Bitcoin ETF inflows in July is just over $1 billion in just the last 3 days.
I believe Bitcoin is legitimate.
Meaning this is literally Fidelity, their clients, BlackRock, their clients, buying the dip, pushing the price up.
If you want to hedge hope, Bitcoin is not an instrument for hope unless you're hopeful you're going to make a lot of money on it.
And globally, just looking at Hong Kong, Bitcoin held by Hong Kong Bitcoin ETFs again hits a record high, showing strong accumulation from the Asian markets. And billionaire Mark Cuban, friend of the channel, he's been on Altcoin Daily.
If Charles Hoskinson was on Shark Tank, what advice would you give him for the Cardano project?
I'd say, where's your revenues?
Even he admits, for Bitcoin, you can't align the stars any better for a BTC price acceleration, meaning Mark supports the point of view of Samson Mow. Bitcoin price is going much higher, and it's one thing to read the headlines, but let's go into Mark Cuban's reasoning. This was just put out today, and this was in fact a response to the Democrat versus Republican seemingly war on crypto. This is Mark's opinion on why so many Silicon Valley people are choosing to support President Trump. Now, this is his words, not mine. He talks how high the Bitcoin price can go in a second. But Mark Cuban starts out by saying this. Part 1, here is a contrary opinion on the emergence of Silicon Valley support for former President Trump, which, like all my opinions on here, probably won't be popular. It's a Bitcoin play. Not because the former president is a far stronger proponent of crypto. That's nice, but it doesn't really impact the price of crypto. It does make it easier to operate a crypto business because of the inevitable and required changes at the SEC. So Mark Cuban starts by saying that if Trump is reelected, that's not going to directly impact the price of crypto. That does nothing. It will impact crypto businesses and make them easier to operate because of the inevitable changing, the firing of the SEC with new leadership. Actually, you may remember on our channel when Mark Cuban called out the hypocrisy of the SEC.
SEC is incredibly hypocritical. Do you guys know what the pink sheets are?
Like a car?
No, not for a car. Pink sheets are little public equities stocks that don't trade on the big exchanges like the NASDAQ or the New York.
Like the penny stocks.
Penny stocks, but penny stocks can be different types. There's over-the-counter penny stocks and there's pink sheet penny stocks, and they're not necessarily all penny stocks. They can be big companies. Well, I just looked at this yesterday or 2 days ago because someone asked me. There are 16,750 pink sheet stocks. Probably about the number of tokens there are, probably, right? There is no protection for anybody anywhere coming from the SEC, and that already falls under their purview, right? They're supposed to be protecting you.
But back to the news today. If none of that drives the price higher, and Mark claims Silicon Valley support of Trump is a Bitcoin play, what will impact price? What will drive the price of BTC is lower tax rates and tariffs, which, if history is any guide, and it's not always, will be inflationary, meaning it's the macro conditions that will alter Bitcoin's course to the positive. Now that, combined with the global uncertainty as to the geopolitical role of the USA and the impact to the US dollar as a reserve currency, and you can't align the stars any better for a BTC price acceleration. Mark Cuban admits all signs are pointing to a BTC bull run in 2025 unless the Democrats can pivot to pro-crypto, which I hope they do. I mean, both Republicans and Democrats like Bitcoin. This does not have to be politicized. Crypto is for everybody, although the Republicans are winning with the rhetoric and some of their policies today. But then Mark gets into part two. How high can the price of Bitcoin go? Way higher than you think. Remember, the market for BTC is global, and the supply has a final limit of 21 million with unlimited fractionalization. Now, his point is absolutely correct, although he did get community noted here when he said Bitcoin has unlimited fractionalization. Bitcoin does not have unlimited fractionalization. The smallest unit is called a Satoshi. Anyway, Mark Cuban is saying there's potentially global demand for a finite asset. And keep that in mind as you consider what happens if, because of geopolitical uncertainty and the decline of the dollar as the reserve currency, BTC becomes a safe haven globally, which means that BTC could be what countries and all of us look to buy as a means to protect our savings. Crazy? It's already happened in countries facing hyperinflation, and if things really go further than what we can imagine today, and I'm not saying they will, just that this is a possibility somewhere above zero, if things go bad, if the macro environment gets worse, if hyperinflation, even in the US, gets worse, then BTC becomes exactly what the maxis envision, a global currency.
Right. So I think the key message I'm trying to get across is that the macro environment has fundamentally changed.
And this reasoning is very similar from what we shared with you a few days ago.
I believe it is an instrument that you invest in when you're more frightened, though.
BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, insanely bullish on buying Bitcoin.
It is an instrument when you believe that countries are debasing their currency, debasing their currency by excess deficits, and some countries are. I believe we have countries where you're frightened of your everyday existence, and if you have an opportunity to invest in something that is outside your country's control.
And now it all comes down to this. Even though crypto expert Samson Mow said this at the beginning of the year, it's playing out exactly as he predicted.
I did some analysis, and other people like Macronaut and BitPain and others have also done the math too. And Bitcoin going up 20x is not a difficult thing. It's done it sometimes in the past. So the key here is that everything is different now with the ETFs, with the amount of money able to flow into the Bitcoin ecosystem. And we can very rapidly go up to 1 million. Whether we stay there or not is a different question. But just the lack of supply, because we are constrained, there's about 1.4, maybe 1.6 million BTC on exchanges right now. That's not a lot. And at some point, it's going to dry up, especially at the rate at which the ETFs are hoovering up all the coins at the moment.
Now, me personally, I believe in the diminishing returns theory for Bitcoin, meaning the larger Bitcoin grows, every cycle, the gains for Bitcoin gets less. To me, $120,000 BTC this cycle is more realistic. But Samson Mow disagrees.
I'm assuming you don't believe in the diminishing returns theory.
Not really. I mean, we talk often about hyper-Bitcoinization. And if you believe in hyper-Bitcoinization, then it's impossible to believe in diminishing returns because there should be no cycles to Bitcoin. If you're going to reach the point of hyper-Bitcoinization whereby we replace all fiat money, then there is nothing to go back to. So what are you measuring the returns in, right? If the US dollar no longer exists, then how can you have diminishing returns? So I guess there's two parts there. One is, will there be another cycle? And I'm not really sure. Like, just because we had 3 similar looking cycles in the past does not mean that we're always going to have this cycle, right? Because it's like flipping a coin. You get heads 3 times doesn't mean the next time it's more likely you're going to get tails. It's a different equation every single time. And the other part is, well, if Bitcoin does replace fiat, then there is no diminishing returns. You're just Bitcoin now. So it's not really possible to measure returns.
Be sure to subscribe to us on the Roundtable app. We're 8 followers away from crossing our first 100 followers. And leave a comment in the thread, BlackRock's top 5 altcoins to buy now. Link down below. See you tomorrow.